after CDS, there was like some rumor that Satone was dead.
Yeah, I think we even talked about that, and but
Mhm.
again, everything points that he's still alive, and it was just a rumor and stuff. Which I
Yeah,
hope so. I hope he's not
I do
dead.
too. I tried to
But
find him.
yeah, he's just
If anybody knows how to get a hold of him, let us know.
what's up, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new episode of We Were Loud Once. It's kind of a fun episode today. We're going to kind of keep it Midwest again. So we've kind of talked about this band a little bit. We've talked about this band a little bit before, and we've had some special requests from some listeners and stuff. Saying like, "Hey, you guys should do a little bit of a dive on this band." And so I was like, it's not a bad idea. I think they deserve to have their own episode and stuff. So,
Mhm.
um, but yeah, I guess just kind of jumping right into it. Like, let's just do it. Sometimes we tend to go off a little bit, but on a
Right.
tangent before we go in. But today we're gonna get right down with it. You know what I'm saying?
The
You know?
sickness?
Oh, dude, why would
I'm
you do
sorry.
that?
I'm
Why would
sorry
you
I
do that?
had to.
I promise you, we will never. We should do that though. We should do a Disturbed episode, and it would be 3 minutes long.
No.
And I'm just
It's
joking.
it's funny because I was talking to a buddy of mine recently who's listens to the show all the time, and
Mm.
he's like, "Man, you guys really don't like Disturbed," and I'm like, "No, we don't."
Nope, not at all.
And I'm like, "Man, is it really like?"
Is it that apparent?
Do we talk about it that much? And he's like, there was a stretch where you guys were talking about it like all the time. And I'm like, all right.
We would be remiss if
So
we just
so
didn't
much for laying
remind
off of
people.
Disturbed.
That's right.
Sorry.
That's so funny.
Sorry, not sorry.
No, but today
Anyway.
we're gonna be Down the Sun is what we're gonna do. What we're gonna talk about. So
Yeah.
yeah, fun band again, Midwest band. We talked about this off mic like a couple days ago or something like that. Like I thought for sure they were from Des Moines. Obviously, they got ties to Des Moines, but it
Mhm.
turns out they're from Kansas City.
Yeah.
Right? So
Mm.
that was kind of shocking to me. So
Allegedly. I think we have to say that in
allegedly,
front of everything now.
oh man, we've learned all about the word allegedly. Speaking of speaking of Midwest bands,
Right.
but yeah. So no, Kansas City, Des Moines. It does, I guess, on their Wikipedia, it does say Des Moines. So
Yeah.
Kansas City and Des Moines.
I think
So
it's no secret that Sean was heavily involved with this band.
totally,
And Satone, the singer, worked with, I believe he worked directly with Sean as a tech or with Slipknot.
Yeah.
So he had ties to them anyway.
yeah,
So, and I
Yeah.
imagine that, because Roadrunner put out the record, didn't they? Yeah, Roadrunner did
yep,
eventually. So, I mean, it's no great stretch to say that Sean probably hooked up a lot of this for them,
sure, oh yeah,
which, I
Yeah,
mean,
'cause-
it's still got to stand on its own, but it's
Mhm.
also, it's a business of who you know. And it's
yeah.
always
Because
been
again,
that
I'm
way.
just going off of memory because I think Satone, he was in one of the Slipknot videos, I believe. Like he had like a pig
Probably.
face or something like that in one of somebody's gonna correct me on that. Please do. But yeah, I'm
Yeah.
pretty certain like he was
Hmm.
wearing a mask or something like that, and he was in one of their videos, one of Slipknot's videos.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. But again,
I don't remember
and
which
that's
one.
just the thing. I mean, dude, even though Des Moines, Kansas City, Omaha, Minneapolis, all this other stuff, I mean, we are friends with a bunch of bands from all these different areas and stuff. And it was
Yeah.
just like family, we would swap
Mhm.
shows all the time,
Yep.
It was just what you do. I mean, Midwest was like, I think it's kind of like I mean, and there's a lot of bands. I mean, even in Omaha, let's just say.
Mhm.
But I would imagine it's very similar to like California. So you got like LA, San Diego, stuff like that. Everybody's real close. I think it's probably a little bit more close because you have such a condensed population and stuff in those areas, but ours, it's like kind of way more spread out. So like to us, 3 hours is nothing. I mean, that's just
Right.
right down the road, So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, like it's like I think that's why we tend to kind of lean towards a lot of Midwest stuff, because it feels like it's just like in our backyard. We talk a lot about Midwest bands because again, it's just so close to us.
Yeah.
People in California might think 3 hours, like oh my gosh, might be a long ways
It's
away, but
and kind of that like that like Omaha, Des Moines, Kansas City, Minneapolis, even Denver too, to a certain degree.
Yeah, Denver. Yep.
Those
Yep.
that was kind of your regional touring.
Yeah.
That's where you went if you were
Totally.
lucky enough to find a band who would trade shows with you,
Yes.
because that's how you do it. You'd kind of befriend somebody in the market you were trying to get into and have them put. That was the easier way to do it. We'll say
Totally.
you
Yeah.
you know you could always call up a venue or submit an EPK or whatever you were going to do to try and get there, but the quickest way was to trade shows with somebody.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes it pans out, sometimes it doesn't, like
yeah,
you'd
I mean,
bring, we brought some bands in and we had a good show and brought them on and I was like, hey, that's fun, and then so then we go down there and they had 6 people show up to their
yeah,
show. It's
that
like, well,
happened,
no,
you know,
yep. It's like,
and
well, that's the way it goes. And
and
vice
the
versa. We've
opposite
had that
happened too.
happen too
Yeah.
on our side, it
And the
happens.
opposite happened. We've
Yep.
traded shows where they were really, really good and, you know, and, but yeah, so,
Yep.
Down the
Anyways,
Sun was, I think we never traded shows with Down the Sun,
no,
but we traded shows with the band after Down the Sun,
correct.
which we were talking about with John Carr.
Yeah.
Uh, CDS, Common Disease of the Swine, we
CDS.
played with quite a bit.
Yeah.
And we were able to get to know Satone pretty well.
Yeah, great band, man. But actually, both obviously
Mhm,
we're talking about both bands here, but yeah,
mhm.
they're both bands are fantastic. CDS though, I think was highly overlooked, unfortunately.
I do too.
Um, yeah,
Just
that's too bad because they were
they
fun,
could
fun guys, really nice.
Yeah, they could never CDS just could never get the kind of the steam underneath them, so to
Yeah,
speak, to kind of push them to that level,
yeah.
um, and, uh, and it is what it is, I mean, Down the Sun was a one and done, unfortunately, um, and,
Which is shocking to me. You know what I mean?
I thought they would do more, because
Oh my gosh. I mean, and
they
again,
were
I go ahead.
they went out with Slayer and In
Yeah.
Flames, and they were out with big names, so, like, they were kinda generating, so,
Yep.
um do you know why they
Yeah, they
broke up?
were. Yeah, I don't know why they broke up. Do you?
I don't. Let me see if I came prepared today. I actually
Nice.
printed
Got
off
some
not
notes.
that not that Wikipedia is like the be all end all, but
No, no, no. Yeah.
um, but yeah. So broken up, band with extended hiatus, a lot of lineup changes. Sounds like it just kind of ran its course, and a lot of times that can happen, in bands where you explode right out of the gate, and then it burns hot and fast,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
and I think that's
Yep.
kind of what happened here, which it is unfortunate, but it's kind of the
Yeah.
way it goes sometimes.
Yeah, dude, it does. And it's just well, and the other thing is too is like for anybody who's like never really been in the business side of it, of like it's when you start a band and everything, like those are the most fun days of being a musician is like your first band because it's you're so green. You just it's like everything's like, oh my gosh, someday we're gonna be so huge and we're gonna freaking make it big and we're gonna blah blah blah. It's like I miss
Yeah,
those days so much because then eventually once you start getting into the machine, you're just like, this is gross.
the
It's just like
dream
all
hadn't died yet.
yeah. Yes, that's
That's
exactly
what
right.
that is. Yeah.
Yes, and so
Hmm.
but again, it's like, especially when you start getting mixed in with all the labels and everything, it just
Yeah.
people start getting plucked from this band and shoved over here, and this band gets pushed, and then they cut this band in half, and then they take this one and, it's all a business. It's all about being a
Hmm.
business and stuff and making money, which obviously, we've talked about, and it makes sense, but, it does this stuff, and it's like people start getting greedy. And then it's also like, oh, all of a sudden you like go on tour with this band, this band, this band, and you get uh, a record deal and you do, things are start seemingly blowing
Hmm.
up and stuff. And then all of a sudden it just goes dead for a little bit and it kind of causes people to go into panic and stuff. And then, it could cause internal fighting and this, that, like, well, why did this stop? It's all your fault because you blah, blah, blah. Or people get hooked on drugs and they start doing it. It's all sorts of stuff, I mean, we're talking about, 3 to 6 different individuals, maybe 8, 9, whatever, and you have all these different personalities and everything, and everybody's just hungry for the same stuff, but you're adding to this pot that's going to boil over at some point. It's very rare for a band to be like Metallica or something like that obviously they went through their own trials and tribulations as well, but it's very rare for bands to be sitting around for like 30
Right.
years and not
It's
have
hard to
any of
make a
that.
career,
Yes.
and some people, it's difficult for some to be okay with the business side, because the reality is that, you take, band X, right? Consider that like an LLC, and you have to divvy up ownership,
Yeah.
and people don't want ownership because there's a gamble when it comes to
Yep.
ownership. So it's like some people want to be independent contractors where they get paid no matter what, look at Slipknot. You have two percentage owners and the rest are 1099.
Correct.
And to my knowledge, allegedly, um, but some people just can't get over that because it's like, well, I worked on this too. I feel that I should have more of a percentage or whatever, and then it
Right.
becomes an argument, and then you're kind of crossing a bridge you can't, or burning a bridge you can't fix, and then that's it. I've seen that happen several times, um, and it's too bad, really. Because it shifts from the creative to the business and numbers and the analytical stuff, um, and it's just it's too bad sometimes.
It
But
is.
um, but yeah, and then after CDS, there was like some rumor that Satone was dead.
Yeah. I think we even talked about that, and but
Mhm.
again, everything points that he's still alive and it was just a rumor and stuff, which I
Yeah,
hope so. I hope he's
I
not
do
dead.
too. I tried to
But
find him.
yeah, he's just
If anybody knows how to get a hold of him, let us know.
please let us know. Yeah, miss that guy. That guy, I tell you what, that's another thing. This is kind of going off on a tangent or whatever. But you know, any musician's gonna be able to tell you, like, if they've ever played a festival and stuff, that is one of the worst parts about playing a festival is sitting backstage for, say it's like a 6 hour day, and your band's only got a 30-minute set. You get there, you're like all hyped, you gotta get your equipment in and this and that, da, 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 and then you settle. And then it's just you sit there. So either you're playing at the front, playing at the back, whatever, whenever you play, the rest of the time you're just sitting around doing jack all.
It's a lot of
And
hurry up and wait. Yeah,
yeah, hurry up and wait. Exactly. And like occasionally, like I loved going networking and meeting other bands and all that other stuff and stuff. But like Satone, dude, like every time we play with him, man, I could just sit there and talk to that dude forever. He was just like, he had like one of the most creative minds I've ever I've ever met. And man, he was just fun to talk with, such a good dude. And he was so like how would you put it, man? Like just he had such like an innocent freaking like way of being a friend, if that makes sense. Like you could just tell like most people, I could totally see how a lot of people, not most people, I could totally see how a lot of people in their situation could have just ended up like really bitter and stuff like that. But he still had that drive behind him, like I'm gonna get CDS huge and he really believed in his band and really believed in his guys, and he was just as driven as everybody else, and it's
yep,
like,
he was.
God bless him, man. He was such a good dude, man.
Hopefully, he
So
still
fun.
is.
Yeah, I
I
sure
feel
hope
like we're
so.
talking about him in the past tense.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'd love to reconnect with him and pick his brain and just see what he's been up to creatively. Because I mean,
Right.
CDS, we're talking what, 2006, five.
Yeah, that would have been at least that I know that we were playing with
Mm-hmm.
in at least '05, and then it
Because
went on from there, because I think I saw that they broke up in like 2010 or something like that. So
CDS,
CDS, yep, yep,
yeah.
yep.
Um,
But
so according to the Wikipedia for Down the Sun, 2003 4 they broke up. They left Roadrunner due to lack of tour support.
yeah,
Um,
and that's Down the Sun did.
mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
And then there's a bunch of people left and um, trying to do their own label, and it just kind of fell apart. Um, that's tough, when you
Yeah,
don't
that is.
have, support from your label,
I
and
know.
just like last week when we were talking with Dave Fortman, it's like when that support dries up, you kind of know that you're done, you know,
Yeah, which is kind of crazy because I mean they did well. I mean, they
they were
sold
everywhere.
Yeah, they were everywhere. They sold over 50,000 copies, and then they were, like, on the Billboard what was it, the Heat Seekers? Is that what it was called?
Mhm.
They, like,
Like
charted
50
on the Heat
something.
Seekers. What's
Yeah.
that?
Weren't they like
And
50 something or 30 something like on that?
something.
So it's like they were getting a push, you
Yeah,
know?
dude, they were, man.
They
They
were
were
getting
so
the
good. What
Slipknot
was that
bump.
song? Medicated, right? That's what it was called, right?
Mhm. I think so.
Oh my gosh, man. I remember when that came out, I was like, "This is sick,"
I
like
Confide was always my jam.
oh, was it? Yeah. I don't
Yeah,
know,
it
they're all
was on.
good, but I remember the Medicated video and just, like, watching the 2, like, singers, like, scream at each other, like, Satone and,
Yep.
god dang, I was like, "That's freaking
What was the
ballsy."
other guy's name? I don't know the other guy.
That sucks, I'm
Uh,
not gonna do I apologize. Um,
yeah, they don't list it out either, right? I
Aaron
don't know.
Peltz? No, that might
I don't know. It's
I
in
don't
there
know either.
somewhere.
Yeah.
But we were obviously closer to Satone because we
Yeah,
played with him
obviously, because of CDS. Yeah,
quite a
because
bit afterwards.
we never played with Down the Sun,
No.
but
Did I? I don't think I ever did. There may have been a festival. It doesn't matter.
might have been, it doesn't matter, yeah. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Aaron Peltz was the other singer.
Yeah.
So, but,
Yeah, because that was the other thing that was starting to become more prominent in those days was the double singer.
yeah.
Usually one clean, one dirty.
Yeah, you don't get that in any other genre either. How many big hair bands besides Nelson do you know that there's
Yeah, well,
You just don't hear about that, I guess Extreme, but again, that wasn't 2 singers, that was
well,
Nuno,
Nuno could sing,
he
can
could sing,
sing,
dude. Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah. But again, it just wasn't a thing, and,
right,
like,
like
I
Lacuna
mean,
Coil,
yep,
Mushroom Head.
yep,
It's like that dual singer was starting to become more of a thing, which interesting for
right.
sure.
And then, like,
Yeah,
our old friends, Idle Apathy, didn't they start with 2
they had
singers?
to for a time period,
Yeah,
sure.
for a time, yeah. Yeah,
Hmm. Yeah,
those guys were so good, man. If
yeah.
people don't know
Idle,
Idle
yeah,
Apathy, oh, I feel
yeah,
bad. Gosh, they were freaking rad.
yeah. I wonder, are they on Spotify?
I don't think they are. I looked them
I'll
up,
have
like,
to
a
bug
couple months ago.
the
I didn't see
brothers.
anything. Find Josh or somebody and find
Yeah,
they gotta get that on there because that freaking their last record that Idle Apathy did,
yeah.
dude, oh my gosh. I know we're
I'm gonna
talking about
look right
Down the Sun
now.
here, but
And
I'm sorry, but yeah, Idle Apathy, like, those guys, Greg and everybody, like, you guys gotta understand that freaking record was so good.
mhm.
Oh, man.
They did
Hopefully
they
they
did a
get
lot
on
of good work.
Spotify.
They
Yeah,
were.
that was a yeah, that was a solid record, and so yeah, so hopefully we'll find that and we'll get that out for people so they
It
can
doesn't look like they're on Spotify.
I don't think they are, man. I don't think
I'm
they
gonna
are.
bug the brothers.
Yes, please do because it deserves to be out there and people deserve to listen to it
I
'cause,
still have my
you want
CDR. Like I
that
found
was
like when I
nice.
was going through looking for my copy of Motel California last week, like I found the one of the Idle Apathy samplers.
Nice, dude.
Because I believe they
Yeah.
did that via Infinite Productions where we did Blueprint.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, it was
So
such a freaking hidden gem of Omaha, man. And then we did a sorry, we're, like, going off on a tangent here. We did a show, um with them, with Idol at, gosh, what was it called? The Hideout, and, yeah, like, they asked if I would come on stage and do a song with them or whatever, and that was, like, super fun because like, we were, like, playing with Greg for a little bit there too, and I'd never done that before. I'd never, like, collaborated on somebody else's song before and stuff, so that was, like it was, like, an honor to do it, kind of a thing. It was pretty fun,
yeah,
but man, that was fun to get up there because then I was just, like, sitting there thinking because 'cause I'm, like, they had done Cody had 2 singers before, and they hadn't done it for years and stuff, and so I went up and did a song with them with 2 singers and stuff, and dude, I don't know. It was just nostalgic. It was cool. It was fun. It's
you
like one of my
know.
favorite memories back then.
So I'll try and get. It would probably be Chris. I'll try to get him to get it on Spotify, and then we'll do a turn it or burn it on him.
Hell yeah.
Chris, if you're listening,
Yep.
get it on Spotify, bud.
Get it on Spotify, please. The world needs Idle Apathy. But anyways, no, Down the Sun, man. Yeah. What a freaking cool freaking band though.
Yeah,
Very I
it,
just remember sitting there thinking like these guys got to be like cousins of Slipknot or something because there's so much flavor that was there. Obviously, Sean had a lot of influence and stuff. The Midwest had a lot of influence. they weren't trying, but that's a cool thing. They weren't trying to be Slipknot, you know. It's just I don't know, what would you call it? It's just a Midwest
Well,
sound, I think,
it's
you know what I mean?
yeah, and because I was thinking about this earlier too, like, um, kind of thinking about the Down the Sun, Sean Cran kind of connection. It's like I think Sean tried to um like Slipknot created their own label, Maggot Recordings, which I didn't
Yeah,
know
yeah,
was obviously short lived. But that was through Londonshire, via Warner. And it's like is it Slipknot-esque? Sure. But it's like when you're a musician, you gravitate to the things that you like. And if
yeah,
you write music that you like, you're gonna gravitate to bands who probably sound similar. You know what I
totally.
mean?
Yeah.
And I'm willing to bet that, in Sean's
Yeah, because
mind, that's what he was doing. Because
right,
he
because
signed Mudvayne
you
too,
right, because you know
but
what to
produced
do
by him.
with it. Yeah, you know what to do with it, you know, because like, even when we talk with, like, Dave Fortman and stuff, you know, I mean, he's definitely been kinda all over the gambit and stuff, and, he doesn't necessarily have, like, a style, but he's got a lot of new metal bands underneath his belt, you know, and
Mhm.
he did such a fantastic job with them, you know, and then you look at, like, say, Rick Rubin, he's been all over the gambit, and but not to disparage him or anything, but again, I think that it's almost kind of a disservice sometimes too, because again, I think, you know, like Volume 3, I'll always come back to solid freaking record. It just had such a different sound and tone and everything to
Mhm.
it that maybe that's what they're going for. I don't know, you know, but again,
It's
it was
Rubin production. Yeah.
very jarring after you got the self-titled and then Iowa and then, you know, here comes Volume
Yeah.
3. And I love it now, but when it first came out, I was like, "Oh my goodness, what did they do?" And I remember they got a lot of flack for that and stuff, and then everybody blamed
Yeah.
Rick Rubin and da 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 da,
Well,
you know, whatever the case may be. But again, it's you know, I think Rick has a certain style that he knows. I mean, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Beastie Boys, anything that's got like a strong hip hop funk influence to it, he's killing it. Rick Rubin's a master with that stuff, you
yeah.
know. But yeah, I mean, but again, respect the hell out of that dude. I mean, he's
There's a production style there with him.
yes.
And you
Yeah,
can
yeah, yeah.
hear it, Volume 3 or Blood Sugar Sex Magic or even Slayer, you
Yeah.
know. Um, it has that very kind of mid-rangey kind of
Yeah.
a thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And they
Yep.
all sound kind of like that. Even The War of Art has that sound to
Correct.
it.
Yep. Yep.
Whether it was the room, because if memory serves, all of those records were recorded in that mansion in Canyon. Sorry.
Sure.
Um,
Yep. Yeah,
but
but yeah, I don't know. But yeah, kind of coming back to it though, I think it's just, you know, you have a certain ear for the things that you grew up with and you love and you've primed and polished and everything yourself. You do such a good job, you know, and it's like it takes a special producer to be able to be like, I can do a metal band, I can do a punk band, I can do R&B, I can do whatever, and they all sound freaking outstanding. It takes a special kind of producer to be able to do that sort of a thing.
yeah,
And, you know, but I also think a lot of producers, they probably get kind of pigeonholed, you know, because they do so well at a certain genre and stuff, and then they can just never climb out of that hole, you know, which is unfortunate, you know.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I appreciate that some producers they go out on a limb and they try different things and I mean they're all going to be good in their own right, you know.
yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean,
Eh,
imagine if Rick, you know, was the first producer of Slipknot, how that would have went.
yeah.
I mean, that would have
It'd
been
be
crazy.
very different.
Yeah, very different, you know.
But he's one of those, and Ross is very similar. Ross Robinson, in kind of the vein of, they're and then and Dave Fortman actually, laid this out much better than I'm currently trying to do, but there's those producers that, they're there to pull a performance out of you. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yep.
And that's kind of the role that they take. And I think Rick Rubin and Ross Robinson are very much in that lane,
Yeah.
because that's why people go to them, you know. Switching from Ross to Rick, it's jarring because they're two different types of people, and how they do that when they're working with somebody. Rick Rubin is very philosophical and very like, you know, that kind of vibe. And then, Ross is like, how can I pull out a raw emotion from you, kind of a thing. And those are two very different styles of production. Um,
Yeah.
and they have their own kind of sound to them, I think. And that's how you, and then you get Slayer and, you know, it's like, okay, you have your sound and that's you. I don't think it really matters what producer you have. You're going to get a
Yes.
Slayer record. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
um, and that's what people come to expect. Um, but, uh, but yeah, Down the Sun, it was too fast.
Yeah, it's too bad. And because again, obviously something happened there, and again, because the thing is like even if they lost label support and stuff like that, a lot of bands
Hmm.
lose label support and they keep going. And then another label picks them up and they do, whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
shit, we talked about Linkin Park, had 44 no's and they,
Yeah.
it ended up being one of the biggest bands in the world, and so not saying that Down the Sun would have, you never know, but
Right.
again, according to the Wikipedia and stuff, it basically just says that they broke up 2004 and then said that they were on an extended hiatus and said that there would only be new material if the band's original lineup was involved because there was a real magic with 6 of them, and that's the only way that Down the Sun would ever be again. And so I respect that though. You know what I mean? It's hard
Yeah.
when and we've talked about a number of bands that you look on, their Wikipedia page or whatever, and you see there's been 45 different, change ups and band members and stuff. And then there's
Hmm.
bands out there right now that have no original players anymore. And it's like, oh my
Saliva.
goodness. It's like hashtag Team Josie.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, so I respect that though, that they're just like, you know what? Down the Sun doesn't work unless if it's us, and I respect that. That's hard.
Yeah. It's it's hard to recreate kind of that lightning in the bottle.
Yeah, dude.
So,
Yep.
if you have it like with a core group of guys, if or girls, whatever, if one of those people leave, like it changes the whole dynamic. It shifts it, you know? Um and it's not always the original members
Right.
necessarily. Um, but when it happens, like that group of people, if any one person leaves, it's just not the same. I mean, it kind of happened to us,
It
you
did.
know.
Yeah. Yep.
Um,
Yeah,
and
that's the thing. You're exactly right. Cause like again, to have that happen like right out of the gate with your first, band members and stuff, that would be really, really rare. Usually do go through change-ups, but then all of a sudden it's just something like you get all the freaking ingredients to the right cake. It's like, oh, there it is, and then you just keep riding it for a while, and then all of a sudden something happens and one person leaves and it's just never the same again. So
yeah.
and that's and it's again another tough, hard part about the business and everything, but like you said, we kind of went through it ourselves and
Well, it's uh, creative enterprises, you know. Um, it's hard to keep everything separate, you know. It's like, okay, you have, we're writing music, we're performing music, we're recording music, whatever. And then it's like, okay, how are we going to pay for gas to get to the next town? How are
oh
we going to
yeah,
pay for studio time? How are we, that kind of stuff. And when you get outside of that creative element, it can get weird quick.
big time.
And, but when you have like that group of people that it's like, okay, this is the lightning, oftentimes that part of it is really smooth because everybody's aligned with it. Everybody's bought into it, figuratively and, literally, but that's when you're firing on all cylinders. So when that doesn't exist, and I agree with them, like it's tough to want to put out new music without a core group of people that, had that kind of relationship with you. And it's not something that you can even really explain. We've kind of used the analogy, off and on again, the lightning in the bottle thing, but it's really difficult to explain that connection to people. who have never experienced it before, because it's a very different feeling. It's like you're just like so in tune with these people that, you can walk into a room and you can jam out a song in
Yeah.
5 minutes or
Yeah.
whatever. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
like that's how you know
Yeah. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
you
For
have
sure.
that group of people, because you can
Yep.
do that and it clicks like that. And you're like, yep, this is, and it's such a, I don't want to say magical thing because that just sounds weird, but like it's such an intense thing, and that you can't explain. It's just something that happens. If it's there, it's there. If it's not, it's not.
Well, if you think
And
about it, it's like, people say that, music comes from the soul, which I
yeah, oh,
wholeheartedly agree
totally.
with.
It's all
And
chemistry. Yeah.
correct. And so when you think about it and you have, say, a group of 4, 5, 6, whatever people coming together and you're all creating something special like that, creating a song, creating an album, creating multiple,
Mhm.
again, it's like all of your souls are kind of exposed and they're all like intermingling and stuff. And it's, in a weird way, you almost got to be like a soulmate, with these people, with these bandmates. And, that's why it's interesting to see. I always find it interesting to see when bands will be like one or two members are the creative minds and then everybody else is just like a hired gun and stuff. I'm like, I don't know how
Mhm.
you do that. Like to me, that's just not disparaging it, but it's just to me it's just really weird because it's like the way that I've always written, it's like I've always had the input from all the members of the band and stuff, for their different parts and everything.
Mhm.
And it just feels, you know, more authentic that way. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it's
Yeah.
you're just getting more out of the song, I think,
Yeah.
by doing that.
Yeah. I mean, I remember I was on a video shoot years ago, and we were set up in this studio, and we had our back line, and I turned around and I looked at it, and for some reason I was just like thinking about this kind of topic, and and I took a picture of it and I put it on Instagram, and I don't remember exactly how the caption read, but I'm like, what do you see here? I see a chemistry set. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And kind of, we're saying the same thing just differently. But it's really, each element has its place and the whole, and the sum is greater than the parts or whatever. But it can be explosive. And when it is, you write it. But when it's
Yes.
not, it's not. And when you're
Yeah.
basing a livelihood on that, that's a tough thing to
Hmm.
do,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
and um, that's why, like you said, some bands stick together for 30, 40, 50, 60 years,
Yeah.
and why others, last an album. Sometimes it,
Yeah.
it can burn out that fast.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
okay.
We'll just
It's a bummer as a fan for sure,
yeah.
but I would
Yep.
rather have have it go like this than have a watered, well, I don't want to say watered down record, but I kind of already did, but like something that's not that thing again.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's like, this will divide some people. It's like Zach Wild writing New Pantera.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's like, would it be good? Sure, if it was called something else.
Correct. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I guess that's not really a good example. I think about it.
Yeah. That's a
Uh,
hard one.
but you know where I'm going. You know
I
what
know
I'm
exactly what
saying.
you're saying. Yeah. I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah, and again, yeah, that's tough. I mean, Pantera is such an iconic band, and I mean, Dime was. I mean, that's so hard because again, they all hold their their own special place when it comes to, uh, like basically that type of musician of the band. So like drummers all know Vinnie Paul, bass players, all the guitarists know Dimebag. Everybody's got their own lane, and they're iconic in their own field. And so to take Dime out and, I mean, as good as
Right.
Zach Wild is, I mean, you're just
This
never
is
gonna get that
exactly.
Dimebag.
And
Yeah,
that's the case, and I'm willing
yeah,
to bet that that's what's happened here,
yeah,
with Down the Sun, and why they wouldn't do it unless it was the original guys. I don't
yeah.
fault them at all for that. Would I like another
Mhm.
record? Of course.
Oh, totally.
Um, but if I don't get one, I understand why, and that's okay. It wasn't, one of those scenarios where two people had beef and it was like, F you will F you too, see ya
Right.
kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, but man, they were such a good band. It was
They're
a
fun.
very artistic record.
Hmm.
Again, I don't think there's a bad song on it. It was such the pinnacle, like of that time too, when everything was really popping off, and
Hmm.
especially in the Midwest side, because I think, excuse me, I think obviously Slipknot, really, pummeled out in 1999 and stuff. We didn't really get a lot of, you know, Midwest bands that were making a huge wave,
Right.
what I mean, at that time. But I remember Down the Sun, it almost felt like, okay, here's number 2.
Yeah.
There's so much
Yeah.
push behind them. There's so much, momentum and energy and everything. It was like, okay, here's another one, and I was like, okay, this is awesome. This is really, really
Hmm.
good. And and so it also made it feel like, okay, Slipknot wasn't an anomaly, and
Right.
um and it also solidified what everyone was doing in the Midwest. It's like, hell yeah, dudes,
Yeah.
and it's like, but again, I mean, that's also like, I think about this all the time. There was such a, let me dial this back a second. If you remember at the Ranch Bowl, it's just like, oh shit, here we go. Jeff on his tangents. What, look at the layers of the onion that he likes to peel back on his own. Um, so at the Ranch Bowl, uh, which was arguably one of the biggest venues in Omaha, not necessarily as far as size goes, but just nostalgia.
Everybody
Um,
played
it,
there.
it Everybody played there. It was like the Roxy or something like that of Omaha.
Of the
And
Midwest.
but anyways, I remember they did a deal where it was like, hey, if you want to play at the Ranch Bowl and stuff, we're gonna do this deal. We're gonna give every local band a shot to play 3 times here. You just show up. We're going to have this big band meeting where you come represent yourself. You're going to sign up on this list and kind of a thing.
Mhm.
And then you get tickets. You get to go sell them. And then based on how many tickets that you sell for your own show, then we'll have you come play here again. So it's like you get 3 shots. And if you don't succeed, you're never coming back here again, which I think was which was a cool idea. However, I don't think that they anticipated how many bands were actually in the Omaha,
Yeah, I
Lincoln
don't. Yeah.
area,
Yeah.
because I'm not for sure, but I recall somebody said like 150 bands were like represented, like signed up, whether they are there or signed up later or something like that. But I just
Hmm.
remember hearing it was like 150 bands. I was going, holy shit, because I remember, I don't know if you were there that night, but I showed up for that meeting and stuff, and there was a ton of people, and it was pretty crazy. And so, like, I didn't even know. But then, eh, how do you say that? I remember playing. My band at the time, we played a ton of gigs, and we played with like different bands all the time, different venues all the time. All this, and it was just such a freaking thing going on. But when you're young like that, I mean, we were early 20s, and you're just thinking like, this is just what it is. This is just
Yeah.
life. But then like today, it's like there's not a third of those bands, and what I mean, in in the
Yeah.
size of the community and stuff, and it just
Yeah.
blows my mind.
It takes a lot to be in a band these days. It's
Yeah.
you know, things have certainly changed in that arena. You know, um, everybody's playing to tracks and click tracks, and then you got to have an in-ear rig, and it's like it takes a lot.
Yeah.
It's and honestly, that's me just making it complicated. It I I'm sure if a band was good, a band is good, and they could go gig.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So forget what I just said.
So no, no, no. So I want to bring that back for a second, because something that, so we went and saw the New Metal Sucks tour
Mhm.
together, and everybody knows that we're big fans of Primer 55, Head PE,
Yeah,
Spine Shank, huge fans. But so Primer, they didn't have in ears, right? So
I believe so.
no, so they're raw dogging it. Old school.
They're raw
However, so
dogging the
here's the
set.
thing.
Yeah.
Right. So here's the thing, and I mean this in the utmost respect to every band that played, that's on that tour, that played that night and everything and stuff. They all sounded outstanding. But did you notice how much the feedback of energy between Primer and the crowd and the crowd and Primer and Primer and the
Mhm.
crowd was different than any other band. I think that the freaking in-ears have something to do with that.
Um, I believe Spineshank had them. It's
I think everybody was doing in-ears that night but Primer,
but
and I think Primer
yeah,
was just feeding off the crowd. I just think there's something I mean, I'm wearing in-ears right now, but I just think there's just something about back in the day, dude, when it was just like just
it's
fucking
you know,
loud, but
um,
you could really feel and hear the crowd, right in front of
yeah.
you compared to I gotta get 30% this, 10% that, you know.
Yeah,
You know what I
like
mean?
yeah, and, you can't really hear the crowd when you have them in, and,
Right.
it's you're listening to a click to make sure you don't miss your cue to start the next song and all of
Right.
that, and you're typically, unless you're starting and stopping, you only have a certain amount of time between songs, so then that limits your crowd interaction, and if you're kind
Yeah.
of the feeling that it's like, "Okay, we wanna cram in as much music as humanly possible," then there's, no time between songs.
Sure.
It's
Yep.
like, but yeah, no, I see what you're saying. And I think that
Yeah.
there's something to that for sure. Um, because I think that, um, as a performer who uses them, it's difficult to focus on the audience as much as when I wasn't using them, if
Yeah,
that makes
you're
sense. Um,
yeah, and that's the thing is like and again, to me, it's more performative at that moment, more produced
mhm.
performance rather
Yeah.
than again, when you're just on stage and it's just that raw freaking sound behind you, in front of you, and the crowd, it's like you're a part of it all. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's
Yeah.
like you're all a part of this energy that's going on. And so kudos to people that are able to interact with the crowd that way and all this other stuff, when they're getting kind of blocked out and everything
Yeah.
too, because
I mean,
that takes a special kind of person.
realistically, for drummers, like if you're in a band and like your drummer has ears and a click in his ears, and if you have tracks, but everybody else is not in ears,
Yeah.
um, actually, before I say that, there is um, the side of this where it's ear protection
Oh, of
because,
course. Yeah. Of
it's,
course.
I remember after shows, like my head would just be, my ears
Dude.
would be
Yeah.
ringing and headaches and the
Yeah.
whole thing.
Tonight is like crazy. Yep.
And once you switch to ears, like that doesn't happen because you can
Yeah.
control the volume and
Yeah.
they're
I
noise
get it.
canceling. So like, you can really save your ears and in that respect, they've been a godsend. Um, but like, if you're in a band and you have tracks, so you have to be on a click if you have tracks.
Yeah.
As long as your drummer is playing to that click, you're fine.
Sure.
As a guitar player, bass player, you don't really need them. If you want to use a front wedge, do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everything will still, unless your drummer gets off the click, then the whole band is screwed. But
Yeah.
um, so yeah, there's definitely positives and negatives
Yeah.
to
Pros and
to
cons.
both sides of that.
Yep. Yep.
Mhm.
For sure. But I don't even know how the hell we got
Yeah, we
here.
went
We
down
are
that
again.
rabbit hole. Yeah.
Yeah, down the sun. No,
Down the rabbit hole. Yeah.
down the rabbit hole. But no, man. Yeah. Either way, I mean, I'm sure everybody listening is knows down the sun. I sure hope so. If you haven't, please go check them out.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're on Spotify and everything.
Yeah.
But
And Satone, if you're out there, hit us up.
yeah, please do, man. Or anybody from down the sun, hit us up. But yeah, especially Satone. Again, we go
Just to
way back,
reconnect
and yeah, it'd be
from
really fun. So,
from
and
the
again, like
CBS
the
days.
world hasn't heard from him in like a long time and everything. So, it'd be fun to have him come on here and, you know,
Catch up.
yeah, exactly. Just, hey, I'm here. That'd be
Mhm.
fun. So,
Yeah.
um, cool, man. No, it was fun.
Awesome. I'm gonna go
I
listen to the record now.
love that band, and it's mad props to our Midwest brothers and down the sun. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
Anyways, okay,
Yeah.
cool. Thanks for listening, everybody. Till next time.
We'll see you guys.
Peace.